pjnet.tv, getting a late start, but everything's working now, or at least we believe so. And Carla Pollard is and has been standing by, and we are streaming, we are recording, and we are ready to count it down to Studio 14. Starting now. Yeah, starting now. Really. I'm serious. Now. Right there. Okay, folks, we're here. Welcome to pjnet.tv. Thank you for waiting, those of you in our pjnet.tv chat room. We love you. And each month, Carla Pollard is featured here on the big screen, or at least one of the big screens, and she is standing by. And Carla, I didn't have a lot of time to get caught up on something that is obviously going on. I see a certificate above me in this wonderful studio, the Maxwell Method. You sent that to me. I have no idea what it is. So would you clue us in?
Sure. It is training that I received through the John Maxwell Team Academy in order to train me to be able to teach others and assess others in their personalities. So DISC is a personality assessment, and it's a new venture that I'm undertaking, and I'm looking forward to it because, you know, God works through personalities. He doesn't overtake us. He works with what he created us to be. And so, you know, getting to know personalities helps. It helps us in a lot of ways in our relationships and ministry.
Am I in the dark, or do I need to ask, who is, or was John Maxwell?
John Maxwell was a pastor, and he trained in leadership, and he is exceptional. He's a prolific writer and has written many books and training sessions, classes, and he has a group all over the world. He's international, where he teaches leadership skills, and he does it biblically based. All of it's biblically based. That is who John Maxwell is.
The name now that you've kind of clued me in a little bit, filled in the gaps, I don't think that name is unknown to me. But now you said you went to this training. Is that done online?
It was the year I took it because it was COVID, so they couldn't meet live. And so the training that I received was online, but it was being conducted live.
Mm-hmm. Okay. It was live, but it was online. Okay.
Yeah. We did a particular format similar to Zoom, but only to accommodate a whole lot more people.
Right. Well, what's the takeaways?
So, it's interesting because I've always been interested in people, and I am a high I. If you don't know what that is an influencer. That means I like people. I'm relatable, friendly, and I try to persuade people with the words that I use, inspire them, and different things like that. So the DISC model was created in 1928 by a Dr. Marsden, and he perfected on some of the ancient Greek philosophies regarding personalities, and also some that Carl Jung had undertaken too. So he perfected on it, created a method to be able to identify the different personality types in an understandable way. And he created a method whereby you could assess your communication skills, how you relate with other people, your strengths and your weaknesses, in order to improve yourself and improve your influence with other people, because you would learn how to communicate with different personality styles. So it's pretty interesting and pretty detailed, because you can't put people in a box. So there are nuances with the personalities.
Well, is the influencer the I? Is that the I of the word DISC? DISC, is that?
That's correct. Each one of those letters stands for a certain personality style.
Well, clue me in. What is D? I'm going to try to figure out what I am.
D is dominant.
Oh, yeah, okay.
D
I'm
is
dominant.
the bottom line person and the person who takes the charge and leads it. I is
And
influencer. S is steady. That is the person that, well, actually, 69% of the population falls in the as high S category. So they're stable, steady. These are the backbone of a family or a business. They're the ones who follow the lead and get things done. They're the behind the scenes kind of person, and you can count on them. They're very dependable. Then you have the
mhm.
C, they're compliant people. These are your data people, your analytical people. These are the people you want when you want to build something, because they are the ones who have the facts and the figures and what you need to go forward. So,
Uh, so I guess you said that 69% score is an S, but aren't isn't our personality really a combination of all of those to some extent?
exactly. We really are. We're a blend of all four, but you're going to score higher on a certain one. That's going to be your dominant personality. So you'll score higher in one of those categories, and some people actually score higher in two or three of
Hmm.
those. And
Hmm.
there's the assessments, the way that they were designed. When you go through the assessment and you answer the questions, it gives you a graph. It gives you three
Hmm.
graphs actually, and the first graph lets you know where you are in what you present to other people. And in the third graph, that's where you are when you're private, in your private self. And the middle graph shows what happens to your personality when you're under stress. So each one of those gives you an indication. Most of them, you're going to score for that dominant personality higher in each graph. And so you look at the way the um, forward personalities fall on the graph to determine if you're above the midline in one, two, or three styles. Um, they'll be your dominant style.
I can see usefulness, and clearly you did too, and clearly the Maxwell team does. I can see how knowing these things and applying them could be useful in ministry, but you've already mentioned one. But one of the thoughts that came across my mind as you were explaining this
Mm-hmm.
is you could take an assessment today and score a certain way and be placed in a graph a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
It says, it's not to put everybody in a box, but they just put them in four boxes instead. Here's my thought is I have known people, everyday, calm, stable people, and then something happens in their life, particularly a nasty divorce.
Mm-hmm.
Carla, they turn into animals.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even recognize some of their behavior as human anymore.
Oh, well, that would definitely be a stressful situation. And it would also be a situation where whatever their strengths are would become their obstacles. It would be like a strength out of control. For example, the dominant person, they're a leader, they're a take charge person. They feel like if it's going to get done, it's up to me to get it done. But when they are out of balance, when things happen or their personality is out of balance, they'll be argumentative, controlling. And so the negative qualities begin to come out in nasty situations like a divorce. So each personality is going to display a certain weakness or a certain,
Vulnerability.
the character flaws of our humanity through that personality. And whatever their strength is will become an obstacle, like the flip side of that
Hmm.
strength.
Yeah, every strength comes with its liabilities. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, this is interesting to me because I studied psychology, and I assume that you take some sort of test. And
Oh,
is the test
yes.
is it multiple choice? Or is it rate on a scale of 1 to 10? How does the methodology work?
Well, the assessment is takes about 10 or 15 minutes to take, and it's a well, is this like you? In certain situations, it'll give you a scenario, Are you more likely to want to stay home or go out? Those kind of questions. And so you would answer them on a scale of 1 to 5,
Okay.
1
Okay.
being the lowest, 5 being the
Mm-hmm.
highest, on whether or not that fits you. And so you do that, and when you take the test, you should always take the assessments. Well, any assessment, unless it's a test, but any assessment, a psychological assessment, you should go with the very first thing that pops into
Right.
your mind. You really
Yeah.
should kind of zip through
Yeah.
it, not really
Don't
think hard
yeah.
on
Don't
it. But
second
what?
guess yourself.
Right, exactly.
That's actually good advice for any exam. More answers on tests are changed from correct to incorrect the other way
Yeah,
around. And
that,
that because and when you want to change your answer, that reveals something about your personality. Also, that tells you you're not confident.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I like and they use raw numbers 1 through 5. I believe you said. And
Mm-hmm.
I like that because that avoids subjective phraseology such as strongly agree somewhat. Because how people interpret disagree and agree is is a function of their own personality. Some
Mm-hmm.
people, would avoid. I know my mother was. She just was not the argumentative type. Peace at all costs. She would avoid conflict at all costs,
You might have
and
been an
that was a
S.
right, and that was a wonderful characteristic in some circumstances. She was a very loving and gentle person, but she couldn't stand conflict, and the word disagree smacks of conflict, so you don't do that. I am fascinated by this, Carla, but I have to put on the brakes a minute and say, all right, what's this got to do with Scripture?
But like I said earlier, the Lord works through personalities. He doesn't come in, and the Holy Spirit doesn't come into our life and take over who He created us to be. He gave us all a personality, and He Himself, if you take the disc model and look at the life of Jesus, and people have done this. People smarter than me have done this, and you can see Jesus functioning in each personality style at the appropriate time and in the appropriate way, because he didn't have the blind spots that we have. So we see personalities reflected in Scripture, and God created us with a personality, and He wants us to use our personalities to serve Him. So, through the personalities that He has given us, through each style that we have, whether you're dominant, influencer, or you're steady or compliant, all of those personalities carry with them certain giftings that He's created in you. And so, we need to bring those out, understand what they are, and you can find better how you can serve the Lord, how you can work in His program and build up His kingdom. So I think it's very important, very scriptural, and God gave us personalities. So why not know about them so that we can be better and we can help other people?
Yeah, I mentioned that there's intervening circumstances, such as a bad, nasty divorce. But
Mm-hmm.
isn't it also true, Carla, that our personalities change over time? I know that when I go to class reunions, and introduce myself and tell them I'm involved in ministry, their jaw hits that it's like that's not the Mark I knew.
Yes. Well, the things we do in life, or the habits that we have, um, are not grounded in our personality. They're just uh, things that have influenced us, whether it was a role model that we're following after, or whether it was our environment or our heredity. Um, to answer that, I think the best way to answer that is yes, our personalities do flux and flow through those four models at any given time. Just as I mentioned, Jesus, He functioned in each one of those personalities at the appropriate time and in the appropriate way. So, yes, we do flux and we change over time. We may build better habits, better character, that would influence some of the answers that we would give on an assessment, that may slide us into another personality style. But basically, who we are and who God created us to be, that's not going to change. So, say I'm a high I, but I have a blend. I'm a ISC, and so, at any time, I guess, in my personality, with the circumstances of my life or whatever's going on, I may function high S or high C because that's my blend. So it's true that we do flux and flow in and out, but there is a part of us that remains solid, firm.
Yeah. Well, it's like the same ingredients in a recipe can be prepared in different ways, and you come out with different outcomes. And I think that life is sort of a baking process. We're born with these genetic things, but the circumstances and seasons of life mold us and make us. But it doesn't change necessarily who we are. It may change how we express who we are, how that is manifested. A criticism that I would have as a student of psychology at the People's Republic of Florida State University, the weakness, I think, in this model, or the criticism I would weigh in against it, is it relies upon the subject's self-assessment. Okay? Is there anything more objective, behavioral, something measurable, other than their own account of how they perceive they are on these questions?
There may be something built in the background of the assessments, Mark, and you might be getting into a lot of detail of the data and the way the questions are constructed that I'm not aware of.
Yeah.
But I would have to say, yes, the test assessment is going to depend on the subject taking the test. And all of the personality models, whether it's Myers-Briggs, whether it's Strength Finders, whether it's DISC, or other ones that are out there, it's going to depend on the subjectivity of the subject.
And I assume this is given in written form, so there can't be any bias introduced by a dominant person like myself asking you the questions, then you supply an answer.
No. You take it alone on the computer,
Okay.
They've computerized them now. So,
I'm sure they have. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
and that's why it's important too. You bring that up, but that's why it's important to go with the very first response that comes to your mind.
Yeah.
That's going to help you stay steady in the data.
You took this back, I guess, in 2020 or
I
early
did.
2020. Okay.
I did.
So here it is, 2 years, almost 2 years, at least a full year later.
Yes.
How have you been able to? Can you give us a time that you can remember drawing on this resource in your own ministry?
In my ministry, no, but in my family, yes. I had
well, that's one of your ministries, Carla.
Yeah, I guess it is. My household, yes, it is my ministry. I had my husband take it. It gave me some insight in how to better communicate with him. And when we interrelate with people, people have a way that they like to be treated. And the golden rule: treat others as you would have yourself be treated. But when you want to really influence somebody or have a deep connection and relationship with them, you take that a little deeper and you want to treat them the way they want to be treated. And we're all different and we all take things differently, and we can offend in ways that we didn't recognize because we're not on the receiving end of it. Mm-hmm. So knowing in my marriage, knowing certain things about my husband through this assessment has helped me to understand, how better to approach him. My husband is a strong C, and he likes data, and he likes to plan, and he likes to know what to expect. And one of his sayings, and he jokes about it, it's a joke, but it's true. First thing you do before you do anything is you've got to see what you got. You've got to know what you have before you plan anything. And that's not me. I'm spontaneous. I think about what's going to happen when we get on vacation and seeing people, but he's planning. I got to take care of this before we leave and that before we leave, and he makes a list. And so understanding how we all think and navigate in the world, it can really help connect you deeper with one another and communicate better. Because if I'm saying something to him and he doesn't take it the right way, or he doesn't understand what I'm trying to say, well, then communication isn't happening.
Right.
And walls begin to build. And you don't want that to happen in your most important relationships. And it also helps in your ministry relationships and business relationships too.
I can see where this would be very useful, or it's not the only tool out there, but this would be useful, in team building, because the last thing you need, if you've got a team of 20 people, you don't need 20 high Ds. Mm-mm. You don't need 20 high Cs. You need a good, and not only do you need a blend, and this will help you in the division of labor and the assignment of tasks, and how to set expectations, but of course I'm saying all this from the perspective of the leader, so I could almost guess I'm a high D, but if someone wanted to get an assessment like this, can they just go online somewhere and do that, or how do you do that?
Well, the John Maxwell assessment is very detailed. It's a 30-page report you receive after you take the assessment, and you would go through somebody like me, a trainer, and what we would do would we send you the key code for you to go online and be able to take the assessment. So
they should contact you.
Yes, please, if you're interested in taking these assessments, and I can also go over them with you if you have questions about them once you get them, because some of it might be a little foreign to the average person, especially when you're trying to figure out the graphs. So I'd be happy to help you with that. Okay.
You had a thought. I kind of cut you off. We need to wind it up. But what's on your mind?
I want to say real quick that the different assessments that are out there, the reason I like the DISC model is because it helps in the area of communication so that you can better connect with people. It's one of the best for team building. You were exactly spot on about that. So it's one of the best in business, team building, communicating with others, knowing your strengths and weaknesses.
Another possibility that I see, Carla, is this is a model that would be appealing to any manager in a secular business.
Most definitely.
It could be very useful, and at the same time, it's a way to introduce them to Scripture. So I think we need to consider, how we can use tools like this to introduce us to audience that otherwise they would never have us come in and preach,
Right. This is true. Yes, and that's one of the purposes for it, and that's one of the reasons that I wanted to get into it. I'm interested in doing that, in leadership training, and also be able to insert a little Bible into it.
Yeah, give them a little slice of heaven. All right. Well, let's spend one more minute. You're on a track to publish a devotional. Where have we made any steps forward since we last spoke?
Not since I've last spoken to you about it. So I'm waiting to hear back, and I'm planning to move forward. And I'm hoping to have it done by next year, but that's my plan. We'll see what the Lord has for us. But I'm excited about it. It's different. It's going to have a supplement with it that I haven't seen many, if any, devotions that have this particular feature. So I'm really excited about it.
Well, the ball's in somebody else's court, I hope. So let's hope they don't hold the ball too long. We'll blow the whistle and throw a flag saying delay of game. Call a penalty on them. Well,
I
Carla,
appreciate you, Mark.
I am sorry we got off to a late start tonight, but the problem was on my end. I just had to reboot, and everything's fine. But it's great to hear from you. Great to have you share, and we appreciate you. And look forward to seeing this next month.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate you
All
too.
right.
Bless you.
Carla Pollard, right here on pjnet.tv. She will, if you want to see Carla again, well, come back and see us on the second Thursday of August, which would be, of September. That would be September the 8th. Anyway, we have got a great team of partners here at pjnet.tv, and Carla is among them, and we are so proud to bring that to you. And these people come on with enough frequency to give us some stability, but at the same time infrequent enough to allow first-time guests plenty of slots to sign up for. So makes my life a little easier, and it certainly makes our producer, Miss Barbara's, life a little easier. So, okay, well, we're a little off schedule tonight. We're going to take just a little break, and we have J.D. Winninger coming up next. And while we're waiting on him, I have an assessment of my own. Don't have a name for it yet, but nonetheless, here is the assessment. And it's a self-assessment. You just ask yourself these two questions. Ready? What is the boldest thing that you have ever done in the kingdom of Jesus Christ? And the second question is, when was that? And the challenge is to never be satisfied with either answer.